Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're going to look at supplemental security income.
SSI.
Exactly, SSI, and how it stacks up against the federal poverty line in 2025.
Right.
This is especially important if you're an SSI recipient,
Yeah.
because we're going to be breaking down some important info about potential increases in your benefits.
That's right. We're talking about how changes to SSI could directly impact your financial well-being for the better.
Okay, so get this. Even with the cost of living adjustment coming in 2025, there's still a pretty big difference between the maximum SSI benefit and the federal poverty line.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head how much that difference is? It's pretty surprising.
Well, the federal poverty line is kind of a benchmark that's used to figure out if you're eligible for a bunch of different government assistance programs.
Right.
And basically, it represents the minimum income you need to cover just the basics.
That's the essentials.
Exactly.
Food, healthcare.
Yep.
But here's the thing. In 2025, the maximum monthly SSI benefit for an individual will be $967 a month. Meanwhile, the poverty line is expected to be $1,304 per month.
Yeah, that's a difference of $337.
$337.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big gap.
Huge gap.
Can you imagine trying to manage all of your necessary expenses with that kind of a shortfall?
I mean, rent, food, healthcare.
It would be incredibly difficult to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
But there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, good.
There's a piece of legislation making its way through the system.
Okay.
It's called the SSI Restoration Act. And this could significantly change things for the better.
Really change things.
For a lot of
And a lot of people. So tell us a little bit about this SSI Restoration Act.
Well, the goal of the act is to try and bring SSI benefits in line with the federal poverty line.
Okay.
If it passes, the maximum monthly SSI benefit could increase to $1,304,
Wow.
effectively getting rid of that gap.
Completely eliminating it.
Completely, yeah.
So that could mean an extra $337 every single month
Every month.
for SSI recipients.
That's a game changer.
That is a game changer.
Think about what an extra 337 hours a month could do for you. It could reduce your financial stress so much.
Absolutely.
It could give you more choices in how you live your life.
More freedom.
You might even be able to put some money aside for the future.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
It's about improving your quality of life
Absolutely.
and giving you the resources that you need to thrive.
Giving you the resources you deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's get into some specifics about how this potential increase could really affect your day-to-day life in a positive way.
Okay, let's do it.
If you're currently getting that maximum SSI benefit of $967,
Right.
that extra $337
Yeah.
could make a huge difference in several areas.
Definitely. Let's start with housing. Imagine being able to afford a more comfortable and secure place to live.
Like a bigger apartment or a place in a safer neighborhood.
Yeah, or maybe even a home with some nicer amenities.
It's about having a place where you can truly feel at home
And comforts.
without the constant worry of making rent.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's housing. What about food?
Food is so important. We all know that grocery prices are going up, up, up.
Yeah.
And eating healthy on a limited budget,
It's tough.
it can be really tough. An extra $337 could make it a lot easier to afford fresh produce, lean proteins, all those nutritious foods.
Oh, the good stuff.
Yeah, that contribute to a healthier lifestyle.
So that's housing food.
What about healthcare?
Healthcare is essential,
Absolutely.
but it can also be so expensive.
Yes.
This potential increase could really help you cover those medical expenses, whether it's copays, medications, or even additional therapies or treatments that could improve your overall well-being.
It's about having that peace of mind, knowing you can afford the healthcare you need.
Absolutely, to stay healthy and active.
Exactly.
And to live your best life.
These are just a few examples of how the SSI Restoration Act could directly improve your life.
Right.
Of course, the actual impact is going to vary depending on each person's situation.
Sure, everybody's different.
But the potential for a brighter, more secure future is definitely there.
It is. And we're going to talk more about that brighter future after a quick break.
It really is exciting to think about all the things that you could do with that extra financial security.
It is. We've talked about the potential benefits for things like housing, food, and healthcare.
Right.
But I think it's important to dig a little deeper into how this increase could really contribute to your overall financial well-being.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing that comes to mind is reducing financial stress.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine having that little bit of extra cushion every month, knowing that you can handle unexpected expenses or emergencies a little bit better.
That peace of mind is priceless.
Absolutely.
It can free up so much mental energy and allows you to focus on the things that really matter.
Your health,
Your relationship.
your passions.
Absolutely.
It's about taking control of your finances and feeling empowered to make decisions that are right for you.
Definitely. Now, some people might be thinking, well, I'm already managing my finances pretty well on my current benefits. And that's great. But even then, this potential increase could open up some really exciting new opportunities.
Like what?
Well, think about things you might have put on hold because of your finances.
Right.
Maybe there's a class you've always wanted to take or a new skill you want to learn.
A hobby you'd like to get back into?
Exactly. Or maybe you've always dreamed of traveling, but it just seemed too expensive.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
With that extra flexibility, those dreams could become a reality.
You could finally enroll in that photography class or
Buy those woodworking tools.
start planning that trip you've always wanted to take.
I mean, come on.
That's amazing.
It's about exploring your passions and enriching your life.
And it's not just about the money either.
Right.
It's about the quality of life that comes with having that financial security.
Absolutely. And speaking of quality of life, let's talk about how this increase could help you connect with your community and build stronger relationships.
I'm really curious about that. How could that extra $337 a month help with social connections?
Well, even being able to afford to grab a cup of coffee with a friend,
Right.
or maybe attend an event in your community.
Or go visit family that lives a little further away.
Exactly. Those kinds of things can really make a difference.
They can reduce feelings of isolation and loneliness.
Absolutely.
And those are so important for our overall well-being, both mental and physical.
For sure. So we've covered a lot of potential benefits, but what about saving for the future?
That's a great question. A lot of people might think that saving money on a fixed income is impossible.
Yeah, it can be challenging.
Hmm.
It's not impossible. Even small contributions can really add up over time.
Especially if this act passes and you've got that extra $337 each month.
It all adds up. And, even having a small nest egg can give you a huge sense of security and accomplishment.
It's about planning for a brighter tomorrow.
Exactly. We want to be sensitive to the fact that personal finance can be a really difficult topic for a lot of people.
Yeah, and we're definitely not trying to give any generic advice here.
Everybody's situation is different.
But we do want to emphasize that there are resources out there that can help you navigate your finances and make smart decisions.
There are organizations and financial counselors who can give you support.
Tailored to your specific needs.
A lot of these resources are free or really low cost.
So definitely don't hesitate to reach out and see what's available to you. It's all about empowering yourself to take control of your financial well-being.
For sure. Now, I think it would be helpful to take a look at the history of the SSI program.
Oh yeah, I love a good history lesson.
Let's travel back in time to the 1930s during the Great Depression.
Wow.
It was a really tough time. A lot of people were unemployed.
Yeah.
There was a lot of poverty.
And it was during that time that the idea for a social safety net started to take shape.
Yeah, the Social Security Act of 1935 was a huge turning point. It created a system of social insurance with things like retirement benefits and unemployment insurance.
That was a big deal back then.
It was revolutionary, the government stepping in to help people.
But was SSI a part of that original Social Security Act?
Not quite. Initially, Social Security was focused on people who had worked and were now retiring or unemployed.
So how did SSI come about then?
Well, it took a few decades for the conversation to shift towards supporting people who couldn't work due to age or disability.
It's fascinating to see how those social programs evolve over time.
Yeah, in the 1950s, people started recognizing the needs of individuals with disabilities and the elderly, and that led to disability insurance benefits.
But those benefits didn't cover everyone, right?
Nope. There were still people falling through the cracks, people who hadn't worked much or at all.
So that's where SSI comes in.
Exactly. In 1972, President Nixon signed the Supplemental Security Income Program into law.
And that was designed to help those who were age blind or disabled.
And who had limited income and resources.
So SSI has been around for over 50 years.
It's a really important program.
It really is. And it brings us back to the SSI Restoration Act.
Right.
And the potential for positive change.
The SSI Restoration Act is all about updating SSI for the 21st century.
It's about making sure those benefits are enough to cover people's needs.
And that it continues to be a vital lifeline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I think it would be great to hear from some people whose lives have been directly impacted by SSI.
Yeah, hearing their stories can really bring this issue to life.
For sure. So our first story takes us to a busy city
Yeah.
where we meet Maria, a young woman living with a disability.
Marie's been on SSI since she was a teenager, and it's helped her to live independently.
That's so great.
Maria's story is one of resilience and determination. Despite some big challenges, she's been able to go to school, find an affordable place to live, and really build a good life.
With the help of SSI.
Exactly. She's a big supporter of the SSI Restoration Act.
She knows firsthand how important it is.
To have that support, she believes the increase in benefits would make a huge difference in her life.
And in the lives of so many others.
Absolutely. Now, let's go to a rural community where we meet John.
Okay.
John is a senior citizen who has been receiving SSI for several years. He worked his whole life, but health issues forced him into early retirement.
That's a situation that many seniors find themselves in, unfortunately.
John relies on SSI to pay for his basic needs like housing, food, and healthcare.
But I imagine it's still a struggle to make ends meet.
It is. But for John, it's not just about the money.
Right.
It's about having peace of mind, knowing he can afford his medications and healthcare, and maintain his independence.
It's about aging with dignity.
Exactly.
These stories, along with countless others, really illustrate just how much of an impact SSI has on people's lives.
They show the human side of this issue.
They remind us that behind all the policies and numbers, there are real people.
With real hopes and dreams for the future.
Those stories are really powerful reminders of how important SSI is for so many people.
It's crucial to advocate for programs like this that help those who need it most.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive, let's recap what we've talked about.
Sounds good.
First, we talked about the gap between the maximum SSI benefit and the federal poverty line.
Right, a gap that can make it really tough to make ends meet.
Then we learned about the SSI Restoration Act, which aims to close that gap and bring SSI benefits up to the poverty line.
Hopefully giving people a little more breathing room each month.
And we discussed how that extra $337 per month could improve housing access to healthy food and healthcare.
And potentially reduce financial stress.
We even talked about how it could create opportunities for personal growth and maybe even some savings.
It's about expanding possibilities.
Exactly. And we heard those incredible stories from people whose lives have been directly impacted by SSI.
Stories that really highlight the importance of this issue.
So what can we do to stay informed and support the SSI Restoration Act?
Well, staying informed is a great first step.
Right, making sure you're up to date on the legislation.
Absolutely. And then contacting your elected officials.
Letting them know how you feel about this issue.
Sharing your story if you're comfortable.
And talking to your friends and family about it.
Raising awareness is so important.
It's about creating a system that truly supports the well-being of everyone.
A system that values dignity and fairness.
And if the SSI Restoration Act passes, imagine what that could mean for your life.
Just imagine that feeling of security.
Of being able to pursue your passions or just having more choices.
It's about having the freedom to live a fuller life.
And that's something worth fighting for.
Absolutely. We hope you'll stay engaged with this issue and make your voice heard.
Your perspective matters.
Your experiences matter.
Your hopes for the future matter.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you found it informative and inspiring.
Remember, knowledge is power.
And you can make a difference.
Until next time, stay curious and keep fighting for what's right.
We'll see you back here for our next deep dive.